live. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Today's Weather Tonight. Here, as always, I am your comedian / meteorologist for the evening, Cloud Hudson, and I will be bringing you all of tonight's top weather stories. Yes, indeed. I'm working on my background little by little every day. You can see my fuzzy snow blanket a lot better against this background. Let's see. Get adjusted here. Let's go ahead and dive into tonight's top stories. Let me make sure that I have... Nope, got the wrong one on there. Let's go for this one. Okay. First of all, very cute video from the National Zoo of pandas Bao Li and Qingbao enjoying 5 inches of fresh snow. Both of these pandas are named after dumplings, which is very important. Very important news is that they frolicked and rolled, enjoying some of the snow. This is the biggest news out of Washington, D.C. today, that 2 little panda bears named after dumplings got to frolic and play around in the snow. Just look how joyful they are in that fluffy white stuff. Oh my goodness, look how cute. Look at them doing little somersaults, jumping around. They're so cute. Oh, little rascals. What are they doing? Just floofing around. Little floofy babies with big old pieces of bamboo, just picking their teeth, just la 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 la. It's so cute. Oh, cute. What a happy story, huh? Feel good story. Very good. Okay, now we're smiling and happy because there's cute, adorable pandas, again, named after Bao Bao, little dumplings. That is not the only snow-related news coming out of Washington, D.C. today. This is the best kind of fight that could possibly break out in Washington, D.C. A snowball fight broke out in Washington, D.C. today. This is footage from Reuters. A snow day turned playful at Meridian Hill Park. So I think that is, considering the kind of January 6th Epiphany day that we had 4 years ago. No, how many years ago? I don't even remember. Remember the insurrection? Do you remember when that January 6th happened? This is a lot better than that. This is like in snow-rection. I don't know. It's very cute. The mascots were out there. People who were in public school were out there. So kids were out there. And even people who work for federal offices were out there. So the children and the feds frolicking and playing in the snow together. This is just about the best kind of fight that could happen in that area, a snowball fight. So they got around 5 inches of very nice, dry, textured snow. That is the perfect snowball texture snow. Remember yesterday we were looking at that vertical sounding, and I was talking about the good dendritic growth zones. This area got some of that really nice, fluffy, crunchy snow. So this is more video of the snow from there. Where I am did not get some awesome snow. We got snow, but it was wintry mix. We got a lot of wintry mix where it was turning from ice to rain to ice to snow all over again. Very nasty. Over here on the shores of Lake Michigan, we got some drone footage of ice volcanoes. What are those? So these little round chunks of ice that are floating around like marbles. Those are ice boulders. And then here, do you see these jets? The way that the lake water jets up when it reaches those fingers of ice reaching into the water, that would be your ice volcano. See the right here, you see the marbles jetting around. Let's see the volcanoes one more time. Ice volcanoes. Looks like Titanic. Here's the ice volcanoes. So it's not exactly a volcano, but it's pretty cool. And here's the marble looking ice boulders. They're chunks of that edge ice that get chunked off and polished into round globs, and set like marbles at the edge of the waves crashing here. Looks really cool. Look at all these icicles there. I bet it would be gorgeous to go to Lake Michigan at this time of year. Not for like playing in the surf, but because like I just think it would be so pretty to see all these ice formations in real life. It sounds extremely dangerous and scary, like maybe a haunting ghost tale, a ghost ship of some sorts is the kind of thing you might expect to see out there in such icy lake conditions. But God, does that look cool. Looks like it would hurt real bad if one of those ice boulders knocked into you. Like, oh my God, I would not want to be in the ice and the water at that time. They're big old ice cubes that just really smash into your head. I can imagine them breaking limbs. Water is hard, guys. When it's frozen, it's very hard. I don't know if you've slipped and fallen on the ice before, but it is harder than your bones sometimes, resulting in broken bones. Okay, anyway, I just thought that was really pretty footage I wanted to include in this broadcast. Meanwhile, down here in Western North Carolina, in Asheville, we are still missing many locations. Many road locations, many towns. We're getting snow, but the road crews didn't salt the roads everywhere. We're just kind of playing it by ear because there aren't even roads somewhere. Also homelessness after Helene with Final Bunkum disaster shelter closed. What's next? We're on January 11th. The housing vouchers from FEMA run out for hotel housing, and the last disaster shelter has closed. So there is, and fees have resumed for city-owned garages and transit services on January 2nd. So sad. The recovery era of Helene is over, but we haven't fully recovered. We don't even have all our roads back yet. We're still dealing with the fallout, and all the little subsidies are falling through. Fun stuff. Here's some actual fun news out of a mountain region. Over in Thailand, there's this gorgeous time lapse of clouds spilling over a mountain range like a waterfall. This is the rain shadow at work. This is adiabatic lift creating the clouds up on the top of the ridge, and adiabatic descent or compression, expansion as you go up and compression as you go down, creating clouds and then taking the clouds away. As you lift the parcel, it expands in the lower pressure and lower temperature. And with that lower pressure and temperature, it can the water vapor can condense into liquid form, forming the cloud. Then as that parcel moves over the top of the mountain and descends back down the back side of the mountain, which is what we're looking at here. I have to as it goes over the backside of the mountain, you see the parcel come down. It stops being a cloud. It's not that this is rained out and it just goes away. The moisture is still there. It's just that at a higher pressure, as you go down the mountain, you get higher pressure. And as you go lower down the mountain, the temperature goes up as well. The higher pressure and temperature can hold more water vapor. So the what once was a cloud evaporates again and just dries up and goes back to clear air. Now there's still water in that same air. It's just not forced to be in a liquid condensed form. Okay, that's just a really pretty video, like a great visualization of what a rain shadow is. And we'll talk about a rain shadow later on in the update, because there is a one of the places that we have an earthquake to talk about is in a rain shadow. I want to move my picture down here and this down here. There we go. Okay. That El Salvador earthquake that we talked about yesterday, the 6.3 that struck off the coast of El Salvador. This is some video of what it was like there while the earthquake struck. You can see that TV image bounced around. That was interesting. That it was also looks like this goes whoa, 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 whoa. And yeah, that is the shaking of the earthquake. Not really super impressive video, but definitely documenting that you could feel it, which I thought was probably likely. I think everyone is okay, but they felt it for sure. Let's go now to talk about those earthquakes, because we got to talk about this one right here in Tibet, in the Tibet Autonomous Region of China, the Plateau of Tibet, in the rain shadow side of the Himalayas, the Himalayan mountain range. We had a 7.1. So let's talk about what that happened. Oh, let me go to make sure I didn't confirm my properties on my window captures prior to starting the broadcast. Sorry about that. I have a long checklist of stuff I'm supposed to do before I start the broadcast. And I sometimes am like, haven't I done it all? Let's just go for it. And then I start and I'm like, oh crap, I didn't do everything yet. Okay. So let me also make my Radar Omega something more relevant in the corner. Let's do like winter weather. Yeah, that's not even showing great. Okay, that's fine. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, that's not even the main thing we're looking at. Okay, so 7.1 earthquake here in Tibet. That is at 10 kilometers depth, or at least triangulated to that. It happened at 8:05 p.m. or 1:05 UTC time on the 7th. So like 1 hour into the international dateline marker of it being the 7th. Although when I'm broadcasting, it just became the 7th. So this was like 4 hours ago, I think. Then as we add in some lower magnitude quakes, you'll see that it wasn't just this 7.1, but we also had a few aftershocks in the area. We had a 5.1, Up here, a 5.2, 4.9, 4.9, 5.0. These are all going to be at 10 kilometers depth. Yeah, let's see how many do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd consider this an aftershock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, like 12 aftershocks all happening right here. Everything since then has been up here, except that 4.8 came after it as well, like an hour after that initial one. The 5.2 was first, then the 7 happened, then it ricocheted back. We also had that 4.0 over here in Tajikistan at a depth of 118 kilometers. We also had even more earthquakes here in Iran, which, funny enough, it looks like it's around the same parallel as the Tibetan earthquake. Do you see that right here? That this is around, like, I don't have Latin lines on this, do I? Yeah, there we go. Okay. These are both right below this parallel right here, and I'm not sure exactly which one that is, but it's right there. About the same latitude. Let's see, the latitude, I'm sorry. Yeah, about the same latitude. 5.2, 4.1, 4.9, and 4.8, all here in Iran. 79 kilometers northwest of Mor, Iran. Kind of in the middle of nowhere, Iran. Let's go to... Actually, did I... I'm going to move this in front of radar. Because I want to show y'all. So the area where this 7.1 happened in Tibet, or People's Republic of China, or the Tibet Autonomous Region, whatever you want to call it, is in the plateau of Tibet, where these 4 big main rivers come out and down and around Burma and Bhutan, into, like, this is the southeastern China, like traditional, always China. Over here in this area is highly disputed politically, territory-wise, so I don't want to say the wrong thing and offend anybody. I just know that this is where there are a lot of Tibetan people who identify themselves as Tibetan and have their own language and culture and flavors of religion, but there are also migrants of other cultures who live here too. This is currently officially on paper, under the control of China, but locally, culturally, customarily, there are other ways of self-governing that happen. Anyway, this earthquake occurred in the middle of nowhere. You'd think that Tibet is all the middle of the nowhere, but it's not. This is about 101 miles southwest of Shigazi, which is the second largest city in Tibet. The largest city is over here, Lhasa, and it is right near the Pumchu River. Pumcha. I don't know how they say the U sound. I forget. Pumcha. I remember Q is ch, like chi. Anyway, you could feel it all the way out here, or this is where there's possible possible reverberations were felt. So it is possible that Shikatsi was felt this earthquake. That would be neat. That would be the second largest area. Here we go. 101.39 miles roughly between the second largest city in Tibet and where this earthquake happened at like 28.639. Ooh, I like those numbers. Degrees north and 87.361 degrees east. So if we look in, I think this is probably the area where the earthquake happened. This is where it was triangulated to, but it would make sense that it happened on top of the mountain. This is just above this river here, just north of it. This is like a huge river there. Which one is that? Oh, that's the Pumchu River. This is the Dangme Ko. I think Ko is lake. This is an area that is in the rain shadow of the Himalayas, meaning that everything that comes from the Indian Ocean or even over from the Persian Gulf, all of this, anything that gets rain into that area comes from these directions. Even if it's coming from the Mediterranean, it's got to go through the Middle East or Western Asia before it gets here. So it has to go over the tallest of the tall mountains here in Nepal or in the Himalayan mountain range. This means that like what we experienced from like what we visualized with the clouds shot in Thailand in that video that I showed earlier in the broadcast, the air parcels move up the mountain and condense their water and usually rain or snow out their precipitation at the top of the mountain. And then if the clouds precipitate, they don't have as much water when they come down the backside of the mountain. So there's, number one, no cloud left when it's undergoing that compression. And number two, there's less water total if it precipitated out. So it stays a lot drier here. However, there are plenty of lakes and rivers because there is such a rich source of water at the higher elevations, and the way that the topography is locally, the water table surfaces itself many, many times. There's a combination of fresh and saltwater lakes in this area, which is why you hear about like Tibetan salt or Himalayan salt, like a salt lamp, pink Himalayan salt. There are both salt deposits that are strong enough to create salty lakes inside the area, and pockets where there's clean enough soil without the heavy mineral deposits to sustain a freshwater lake. So you could get either one if you're in this area. And I did a lot of reading on this area right before the broadcast. So I'm going to info dump. The northwestern area of Tibet is called the lake. That's not the lake region. Whatever. Let me remember what it's called first. The lakes region. Streams flowing. As a whole, the system forms the watershed between the rivers flowing to the Indian Ocean, the Indus, Brahmaputra, and Salween, and its tributaries, the streams flowing into the undrained salt lakes to the north. the lake region and the river region. That's what they're called. There's the northwestern lake region and the southeast and west river regions. The lake region has a nomadic way of life usually, and the river region has a more agricultural way of life. And later on in this Wikipedia article, they talk about how the people most affected by Chinese raising of the standard of living has been the nomadic people who have been forced to move into non-nomadic, stable location homes that they are forced to upgrade to a certain standard of living. And it's also hard to get jobs when your whole way of life is nomadic and you're now forced to stay in one spot. So people from the lake region probably are having a tougher time with this assimilation to Chinese culture than people in river region. Just a broad assumption I'm drawing from the Wikipedia article. But the valleys are covered with good soil, groves of trees, well irrigated, richly cultivated. Seems like for an area that is in such a big rain shadow that it's actually pretty fertile. And there's a good amount of water that like makes its way through here. So a good mix of sea, air, or like water, air, earth, and the fire of the spirit, because this is, of course, the home of Tibetan Buddhism, flavor of Buddhism that entered the region in the 8th century from India, of course, then taking on its own Buddhism with Tibetan characteristics as it morphed and evolved to incorporate the Bon religion, which was the indigenous shamanic and animistic religion of the area, that sometimes is more promoted by the PRC because of its shared imagery of Confucius with main promoted by PRC Confucianism. Okay, there is so much else I could talk about in info dump, just regurgitate what I read in this Wikipedia article to you. But all we need to know is that 7.1 happened about 100 miles from the second largest city in Tibet, and that it actually happened near, how do I go forward? Hello? Where's forward on this fucking browser? I want to go back to, I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. What the fuck? Where is that article about the solar plant in Shigatse? Hello? Power plant. Hello. This was in Tingri County, I think. There's monasteries. There's Shigatse is like a traditional provincial city that is gotten modernized as the time went on. Prefecture level city. Where did I see something about a giant solar array? Did I go to recently closed? Where's that power plant one? There we go. Sorry, guys. Shigatse photovoltaic power plant. It's a solar power plant 3 kilometers northwest of Shigatse. And it's 30 hectares. This is an ideal place for a solar power plant because this is an area with intense sunlight and cool temperatures. So Tibet is very well suited to be a solar location. And I feel like I found it on the map here. When you look at it here, I thought that perhaps this up here is that solar photovoltaic field. You see up here, this looks like a big solar array. This is the city. The Gaesar Hotel is named after a god, a Chinese god that is shared across multiple flavors of religions in the area. So I know that Dutch Sense likes to look at local power plants or structures near the earthquakes, but this one doesn't look like it has much near it. Maybe he would be able to see a shape of something like a pentagon here or something in the natural terrain, but all I'm seeing is mountains. So, cool stuff. Let's continue with the earthquake update. I know that has been a wildly long detour for earthquakes, and I don't usually talk about earthquakes that long, but, you know, thanks for sticking with me. Okay. Continuing on our way, we had, let me go to a different earth. Yeah. And take these grids off. 4.4 here in Indonesia at 35 kilometers depth, a 4.6 in Indonesia, and a 4.8 here in the Banda Sea at 164 kilometers depth. We had a 5.0 in near the which island chain is this? Vanuatu Islands near Port Vila. Port Vila. I don't know which way they say it. 4.9 at 373 kilometers depth in the Fiji region, and a 4.6 at also in the Fiji region. Let's see now. We've also got 4.6 and 2 5s up here in Japan. One of them near the Noto Peninsula, the area where we got that big 7 earthquake last year, right when the X flares happened. Do you remember that? Near the Noto Peninsula. This is between Cape Tapizaki and Cape Shirakami. Oh no, this is the Noto Peninsula right here. But this is more on the northern, onto like when we're going to the island that Sapporo is on. I don't remember the name of that one. And this one was over on the subduction zone in front of the plate. Then as we go along we saw Iran had one. We only got one reported quake out of the East African Rift Zone today in the Great Rift Valley. That is where a new ocean will be forming eventually. This plate boundary is probably going to extend right through there. 4.9 was reported off the coast of Greece at 10 kilometers depth. We had Nothing from the Antarctic, though. Headlines I read that I didn't want to dwell on too much show that the Antarctic is just the smallest it's ever been. 4.6 at 10 kilometers depth, just off the coast of Peru. We had a 4.7 at 162 kilometers depth, 76 kilometers east-southeast of Palora, Ecuador. Here looks pretty foresty. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of roads in that area. Just near the Rio Pastaza. Pastaza. Oh, I read that right. Wow. Near Simon Bolivar. I didn't know that was a region. I thought that was a person. Okay. Let's see. I know that sometimes they name regions after people. Continuing on. Nothing down there. Got a big old cluster of earthquakes around Puerto Rico, including a 3.6 and many 2s. 4.4 off the coast of Nicaragua, just smack dab in the middle of the coast of Nicaragua. Then up here, a lot of quakes happening in western Texas and central Texas up here. We've got another smattering of quakes up in, I'm going to take the quake sizes down. It's really hard to see these. God, especially with these small quakes, just all over this Yellowstone caldera, the caldera of magma under the surface feeding the geothermal activity in Yellowstone National Park. One of these is even in the national park there. I wonder if it's going to say Yellowstone. Yeah. 46 kilometers east-southeast of West Yellowstone, Wyoming. Or it says, this is in Wyoming, and it measures it as east-southeast of Montana. Make it make sense. I don't know. Then we've got lots in Nevada and southern, all of California, really. A 3.1 in the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, just off the coast of Northern California. And a good, healthy dose of Alaskan quakes today. Then, let's see, nothing being reported out of Hawaii. So that is our earthquake update for the day. Big ol' news is a big ol' 7.1 and many aftershocks in southern Tibet. So maybe people are out there meditating really hard or something. I hope that's not like prejudice for me to say. I'm not really insinuating that's what. Oh, here's surveillance camera footage of the Tibet earthquake. Great, good. Surveillance camera shakes magnitude 6.8, rocks the northern foothills of the Himalayas near one of Tibet's holiest cities. That's Jiangxi. Wait, what did I say? What did I call it? What's it called? I already forgot. Shigatse. That's the city. Okay, so yeah, there's video of the quake. Ooh, we can see it. Things dangling, floating. You can imagine if there's wind chimes, you'd be hearing them. Here's some big rumbles. This is what it's like from a surveillance camera in Tibet at this time. Pretty close to the northern foothills of the Himalayas. So near one of Tibet's holiest cities, also largest, not just holiest. Okay. Let's go to check out our atmosphere. And I'm going to do that by, let's look at today's, that's not what I wanted. Nothing from Peninsula. That's not what we're talking about. Pivotal weather. Let's go to see what kind of accumulation we got from this winter storm. Oh no, let's go to observe snowfall specifically. Observe snowfall. Okay, so we get a decent big band of observed snowfall in the past 24 hours from Ohio to Delaware. And then when we expand to 48 hours, since it is a little bit late right now and the snowstorm started last night, if we expand back to 48 hours, the storm really started to kick things off over here in Kansas and spread through the Midwest, the northern side of the Ohio River, and really got to its peak, its boiling point here in the higher elevations of Virginia and West Virginia, as well as upstate New York, near Lake Ontario. That's that one, right? Yeah, because this is Ontario. Yeah, I forget what the order of the lakes is, but one of them's Superior because he's better than the rest of them. One of them's Michigan. One of them's Erie because he touches Pennsylvania, and that's kind of creepy. Anyway, the one right here has created a lot of lake effect snow, getting upstate New York up into the 24 to 28 inches of snow territory. We also had in 2 days like 16 to 20 inches of snowfall in parts of Kansas, West Virginia, and Virginia, and even here in central Indiana. There were so many different bands of snow types embedded in this storm, going from like freezing rain to sleet to dry snow to wet snow. Let's just take a look here at one location in West Virginia right now, showing our different winter weather. This is with a little bit of smoothing on. You can kind of get a sense of what the air masses have done. It's really started to get more of this southeastern translation of the storm as time goes on. But at first it was moving more towards the northeast, and we've really shifted who the dominant direction is there now. Let's see wanted to see hydrometeor classification. So you can see this hot pink is the ice. The cyan here is the dry snow. If we get that darker blue, it's the wet snow. And this is like fog and that kind of stuff. This is rain, heavy rain. I think GR is grapple, but I don't see any light pink on here. So yeah, this is mostly ice and snow, just waves, laminated waves of this gust of wind has snow in it, and this gust of wind has ice in it. All kinds of stuff mixed in all together. I think the hot pink is unknown, where RF freezing rain, I think the purple is the freezing rain. I'm assuming. Over here in southwestern Virginia, it's pretty much the same story. And in eastern Tennessee, we've got a similar story going on as well. That's basically what's happening in my area. I can vouch for the perceived accuracy of the ratios of all looking at the different colors of this hydrometeor classification radar product. That is about the ratio of ice to snow to freezing rain that we've seen in the area. And with the temperatures that the surface of the earth has also been, and surfaces of cars, or this is one of those types of snows that has been like blowing around. It's a real dusting where anything that stays dusty flakes is like almost ice pellets that want to blow around very lightly, as if they're like sand. And anything like fatter and wetter wants to stick to the ground or the surface it lands on and either freeze on contact or melt right in and get cold again. They were being warned down in the Piedmont for potential. See if Greenville will. Yeah, there we go. Potential snow in the Piedmont areas. Not really getting a whole lot from this GSP satellite. Anyway, let's look at the mosaic radar composition of everything isn't really showing the full good story for this winter weather, because this is such a fine particulate type of snow and ice, sleet, freezing rain mixture. Like, it's not super moisture laden. It's moist enough to be constantly productive, but it's not really the ideal conditions for operating a radar in. Radars are not designed for winter weather primarily. They're, I think, designed for severe weather first and foremost, and we use them for winter weather too. But like some sites don't even create winter weather products. So it's kind of hard to judge the widespreadness of the snow in the wake of this system. This is the system that just swept through here, getting out into the Atlantic Ocean. Cold fronts rippling behind it off the Carolina coasts. There is still this giant troughing at the upper levels that's trying to move through. It's not really moving. This stationary front is the one that was going along the Pacific coastline, and it's now made its way a few states in, but it's still like hanging out along the Rockies and directing a lot of cold air way down into the southern parts of the country. That's not awesome for people who just lost their power in this large swath of counties, contiguous counties with notable power outages from Missouri to Virginia. Some of the worst hit counties have up to half of their customers without power. Over half of their customers without power, definitely. It's improving. Yesterday, we had some counties over here that were like 74% out, and now the highest, I think, is that Gatling County that's at 52% out. Everybody seems to be okay in Western Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky still not doing awesome, but there's a lot less people there, so the percentages are skewed by that as well. Yeah, we also got lake effect snow in effect, and Washington, D.C. just now kind of getting out of the crosshairs of this winter storm. Blair, I think, is what the media called this one. So what are we going to see coming up? Well, let's look at our snow totals, see if anything's adding up over the next week. Yeah, over the next couple days, looks like the Rockies and possibly Texas and Oklahoma getting in on the snow action, as well as the Great Lakes and New England areas getting in there, as well as the Appalachian Mountains extending down into the southern parts of it at the higher elevations, getting in on the snow. Let's look at our temperatures. Oh, God, look how cold it looks near Kansas City. Oh, that looks freezing cold. That's like sub-zero temperatures. That's really freaking cold. Very freezing cold for most of the United States. Almost everybody is undergoing freezing lows. Let's take a look at what our National Weather Service hazards are right now, because I have a feeling yes, we are in a freeze watch for New Mexico, counties of, wait, that's Arizona. Am I going crazy? That's Arizona, right? Because New Mexico touches Texas. Parts of Arizona and parts of Florida and Louisiana are all under freeze watches. We've got counties in southern Texas and southeastern Georgia and northern Florida under freeze warnings. We've got high wind advisories. We've got wind advisories in this tan color, high wind warnings in the gold color, and red flag warnings. That is not commentary about your blind date. That is a warning made up for potential fire weather, where there's really dry, high speed winds moving into an area that is already pretty dry. And if a spark went off, it would probably carry the blaze very far if one were to happen. So that's what a red flag warning is. And then this purple color, we got the winter weather advisory. Where do we have winter storm watches? Oh, up here in Montana. And winter storm warnings still in effect in much of the highest elevation counties in West Virginia, as well as parts of Maryland. Let's see. What was our temperature analysis? Yeah, looking really freaking cold. That's my professional opinion says really freaking cold is what it looks like. All right. Let's go to Schumann resonances. You can see I do still have the heliport cam from Greenland up. It's not doing too much, but there's no northern lights. There's some northern lights still going on there, so I'm going to keep it up. Yeah, a lot quieter from the Schumann resonances today. A lot less communication between the upper atmosphere and the lower atmosphere. So things are calming down little by little. When it comes to the charge dissipation across the capacitor that is the atmosphere Earth system. Let's look at the magnetosphere. Ooh, it's like really high velocity solar wind. Some of this is like over 600 kilometers per second. That's really high. And we've got a decently strong backflow. This little vortex formed eddy. The little backwash. I don't know what to call it other than backwash. When the vortex shedding creates an area of contrary motion in the wake of the object that has deflected the laminar flow. Whatever that is. You can see it forming up nicely here in the magnetotail. Some nice contrary motion where everything would be flowing back like from the night side of the Earth back to our bands. Let's see. Density. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Got a nice lens of very dense plasma here. around. Ooh, getting a little bit buffeted, but doing a great job shielding the Earth. So that is probably why our Schumann resonances haven't been too bothered, because there hasn't been anybody knocking on the door too hard. Pressure is also very high in that lens and in the charge belts around the Earth there. Watch that. Yeah, charging up those belts just a little bit, but still looking pretty nice. The night side is a little more charged up than usual, which I think is good. Oh, yeah, we're getting a lot of connection to the South Pole as well. Let's look at our solar weather now. Solar wind speed is still moderately high, over 600 kilometers per second. Sunspot region 3947 has an article now. Let's talk about it. Not many coronal mass ejections on the 6th. Just haven't seen anything really good since the 4th. But that one that was released on the 4th is probably due to get here like today. Let's see. Yeah, that was due to get here halfway through the day today. So that is probably what we're experiencing right now with that elevated solar wind. That's the velocity there. Though the direct hit was at stereo A and not at Earth. See, this doesn't even model it very well. Let's go to the real-time solar activity. Sunspot region 3947, looking complicated ass region. Wish I could zoom in on this. The coronal holes are going away, but the solar wind has stayed elevated. Solar protons is showing itself again. Still declining from that elevation and proton flux that started last week. Far side of the sun looks like it is developing a couple sunspot regions that look very healthy. So maybe we'll have some exciting weather when the current big player is gone. But look at all these M-class flares that have been going on since, in the first week of the year, we've had how many X-class flares? Like 3 or 4 X-class flares and several M-class flares. This is a big deal. The last X flare was within the last 3 days at X 1.85 on Saturday, January 4th at 12:40 UTC. Was while I was broadcasting, I think. We got a decent dip down, so we're due for our next M-class flare if it's about to pop up like clockwork, perhaps another X flare. Let's see what this region, they had to say about it. Any coronal mass ejection associated with these events are not aimed at our planet due to the location. It's in the northeast quadrant of the solar disk and will face Earth in a few days. However, we should for sure be on the lookout for more flares in the days ahead coming from the sunspot region as it rotates to a more Earth-facing position. So its previous flares weren't exactly directed at us very well, but we're still getting like geomagnetic activity of a KP index of 4, radio blackouts, type 2 radio emission, type 4 radio emissions. Let's look at that. Yeah, look at that very high solar wind speed. A few moments of very high density, plasma density, interplanetary magnetic field strength, marginal, and just wavering between positive and negative orientation. Let's see our KP index history. We reached a KP index of 4. And then it kind of declined after that. Let's see. Auroral activity not looking too not as likely as previous nights. We're not really even close to being in a moderate geomagnetic storm type index, but geomagnetic conditions have been observed. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the planetary weather now, shall we? Planetary weather. We've got the big ol' T-square between the sun at 17 degrees of Capricorn, squaring the moon conjunct Chiron in Aries at 19 and 20 degrees of Aries. And that is opposite the Lilith in Libra at 21 degrees. So a big examination of our self, our identity, our ego, our relationships to others, the idea of the way you present yourself in the world, and maybe your wounded attachment to that, maybe the wound of the way that you're perceived by other people. What can you learn from this wound, this very emotional wound of how much you care about what other people think about you? I don't know what you can learn because I'm trying to learn that lesson myself. Got a square between Mercury at 28 degrees of Sagittarius and Neptune at 27 degrees of Pisces. We will soon have Mercury in Capricorn. So I am looking forward to that personally. I feel like I'm going to get a lot more done and set some better intentions for the new year once we have a Capricorn Mercury that's not debilitated. But this is also the last time that we'll have mutual reception between Mercury and Jupiter, it being in signs that are ruled by the other. Still have Venus bringing some benefic joy to Pisces, which is very needed because confident in Capricorn. I would say that this is probably a mutually beneficial transit. Things are just a little bit easier feeling. It's a little bit easier feeling to be disciplined right now, even though it might be a little bit hard for your fantasies to find the crushing reality of who you actually are and what's actually happening right now. But you can still be a little delulu as a treat because we still have Neptune in Pisces. Finally, Mars in retrograde has ingressed into Cancer. So Mars is, I think, debilitated in Cancer, right? Because it's exalted in Capricorn. So it's in its fall in Cancer. So Mars, not the happiest. It's not the most Marsy Mars. It's not the most martial Mars in Cancer. It acts more as a nurturer and protector and like crabby, the little claws. But you can, Mars in Cancer things you can do as like strengthen your hands, like Austin Kopic mentioned on the astrology podcast. He went through a Mars in Cancer transit and went and ended up doing a gym routine that was focused on strengthening hands or claws, literally the Cancer, the crab claws. Also, I don't know why I'm thinking this, but convergent evolution, everything turns back into a crab eventually. No matter what process you go through, Mars is always going to end up protecting its place of nurturing, love, and home. All fighting really is about protecting that home place, I think, that place of safety, which is why Mars feels debilitated in, or is debilitated in Cancer. It's the creating of a home. You don't want to put martial energy into your home to make it comfy. But the reason you have martial energy is to protect that home. So It's a little bit of an oxymoron, a juicy contradiction there. But it is now a Mars day and not a Mars hour. So I guess I should say thank you to Mars in now Cancer. Be happy with it. Sorry I haven't been looking at the chat today, guys. I just realized I have not been participating. Precipitation is any liquid or frozen water that forms in the atmosphere and falls to the earth. Yes. Lawton. Okay. Howdy, Lawton. Who's Lawton? I don't know who that is, but I like it. Lawton. Okay. Lawton, Oklahoma. Solar wind travels over 1 million miles per hour. Yes. Okay. Hi, y'all. Welcome. This has been another episode of Today's Weather Tonight. Before we go, move my salt lamp out of the way. Something's wrong with the little cord that came with the salt lamp. I don't know why this is glitching and showing all those comments all at once. I'm going to do a little bit of a check, a little vibe check. Let's look at what the liminal space has to say. Let's play our Himalayan, our Tibetan monk created singing bowl. This is actually from the Tibetan monks that are in exile in Georgia, is who I bought this from a long time ago. Not a long time ago, not as long as it looks like it's been. I like the wind chime thingy. Yes, it's a singing bowl. It's a prayer for compassion on it. Beautiful. Made of brass. Okay. I hope you like that. I think it's very calming. Helps me at least. Okay. Let's see. Now we've got the liminal space to consult. All right, liminal space, what do you have to say to us today? What message is about from to the liminal space that we need to hear? The kind of vibe reading of the day. Yes. The vibe is yes. It's got a hand reaching through a portal, offering a crystal ball that says yes. Or catching a crystal ball that says yes. See what that means? I think it's going to mean yes. Permission granted. Not that you need it. Whatever you were thinking of when I drew this card, it's a yes. That's exciting. Very, very exciting. Yes, you can go for it. Yes. Yes. It's a complete sentence. Okay. Very exciting. Let's go to affirmation deck. Who's this one? My joy doesn't depend upon the approval of others. It's a very challenging lesson for me because my brain likes to tell me that this is true, that this isn't true, that my joy does depend on the approval of others. But this card is telling us my joy does not depend upon the approval of others. No effective guidance will ever be achieved by seeking the approval of others, for they all desire different things of you. Constant, pure guidance from source comes forth from within you. It is always there. So there you go. Seek not the answers without, for you will be without answers. Ooh, I like that. My joy doesn't depend upon the approval of others. Such an important lesson. Very hard for me. Getting better at it, though. I am getting better at letting go of the approval, my attachment to the approval of others. And last, let's consult the tarot. Our little flashy raw lab. The cards had quite the message for me last night. It was not for the collective, but it was very interesting. It wants to do again. Okay. Well, let's get one for going with yes, and my joy doesn't depend upon the approval of others, please. Doctors in the train, good evening. Dr. Leave Alone. Dr. Leave Alone. You're just catching the tail end, the caboose of the train. Sounds like an extra thick what? Extra thick deck. This one is like, it's not made of the sturdiest card material. The last one that I did, this one, that is a very thick deck. It's a very thick card. The liminal space is the perfect in between, but this current deck is a little bit, little fragile, little thin to be roughly shuffling all the time. Should do more chopping up shuffles than flippy shuffles. Whoop, there we go. Okay. Ace of Pentacles reversed, which I feel like that is an internal version, not a losing of new resources. But look at the similar imagery on these. I just want you to take a look at the mirror imagery between this yes card that came first and this Ace of Pentacles reversed. There is something on the other hand that we need to internalize, perhaps a physical blessing that we need to take into ourselves right now. I don't know. Take interpretation of these cards as you personally will, because the Ace of Pentacles is a very abundant card, promising like very fruitful outsides and new business ventures or opportunities for money, or reversed, possibly places to spend money, places to invest things. Maybe this is saying yes to an investment of yourself, or an investment in your self-confidence, something that's going to help you believe in yourself more. I like it. Either way, I like it. Remember that your joy doesn't depend on the approval of others, that you can say yes to investing in yourself and your internal worth. Yes, say yes to investing in self-worth. I'm going to interpret this as not as losing money, but reversal as in internal value, worth, investing in your self-worth. Do something that makes you feel good about yourself today. I think that's a great way to start this Mars retrograde into Cancer time, with the moon in Aries and sun in Capricorn too. It's time to build some systems that you believe in sustaining. So build the connections, the networks, the actual, do the groundwork, the footwork that you always wish you were doing. Do groundwork that you would feel good about yourself having done. Do that stuff. Okay. Love you guys. I will talk to you tomorrow. Stay safe. Have a cool, happy snow day if you have a snow day right now. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. For today's weather tonight, I'm Cloud Hudson. I'll see you. Bye. I love you. Bye. Bye. Bye-bye. End broadcast. I don't know why it's not doing that.